So it was actually the process of making the election commissioner, the Commission of India, that body, multi-member body, started in 1989, but it is not continued. It was disrupted for some 4 years. Okay, then from October 1993, under the law, under the proper and formal law, it was actually became the 3-member committee, including 1 chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. Okay, so Article 324 actually provides the Election Commission of India, that institution. Okay, no other any other article which deals with Election Commission of India. Right. So the Election Commission of India is an independent body. Okay. So whenever we talk about independent body, it means there can be other type of body also. One is independent body and other is based upon the doctrine of pleasure. Is it clear? So it means whenever we say that this body is independent body, it means it is not dealing with the doctrine of pleasure. It means it has certain clauses or conditions given in the constitution about the removal of that particular institution. Is it clear? So in this, while we were doing Central Information Commission, we were having that clause that the salary allowances and all these terms and conditions were same with the Election Commission of India members, and Election Commission of India members are having the same salary structure, terms and conditions that were having the judges of Supreme Court of India. Okay, in the same way, the CIC clauses were changed, but Election Commission of India is having the same clauses still. There is no change. So it means the removal of Election Commission of India is same as with the removal of judges. Is it clear? Right? But the process, conditions are same, but processes are different. Right? So removal of judges based upon, this is called impeachment. Okay, this is the only word, the impeachment word is only used for the removal of judges only, right? That president only, sorry, not for judges, but we can call it as impeachment in some misnomer, right? It's not the proper word. Impeachment word is used for president only, right? For judges we can call it removal, but sometimes you find that impeachment word is also used, but the processes are different. For the removal of president, we know that the proposal should be passed by the 2/3 majority of total membership, right? Here we have a special majority. It means 2/3 members of total present and voting and 50% of total membership. That is special majority, and the condition should be the, what are the conditions of removal of judges? Incapacity and proven or proved misbehavior. Right? In the same way, Election Commission of India's member can be removed by, okay, not all the members, but Chief Election Commissioner is removed by these conditions of the same which are applied for the judges of Supreme Court. Okay. Now we will discuss what's about other commissioners. Right? This is disputed. Okay. This is under adjudication of Supreme Court. So the Election Commission is a permanent and an independent body. Permanent means delimitation commission is not permanent commission. Why? It is formed for particular purpose, right? So that is depend upon time to time when election comes place or the change in territory, right? For delimitation commission is formed for Jammu and Kashmir, right? Because the territory has been now redesigned. Is it clear? So delimitation commission is not permanent. Election commission is permanent and independent body established by, so it can be called as constitutional body. Okay. And what about delimitation commission? Is it constitutional body? Yes, it is constitutional body. It is according to the constitution. Article 81 provides the formation of delimitation commission, right? Now Article 324 of the constitution provides that the power of superintendence, direction and control of elections to the parliament and state legislature and the office of president and vice president. So these are the 4 types of election which are under the superintendent and direction and control of Election Commission of India. Okay. And President of India shall be vested in the office of Vice President of India shall be vested in the Election Commission, right? So President of India and Vice President of India and Parliament and state legislatures. ठीक है? Now, the election commission is not concerned with the elections to panchayat and what?
Vested in the election commission means.
Vested in the election commission means that is dealt by election commissions. The responsibility of election commission of India to superintendent's direction and control of election to all these 4 offices, right? And the election commission is not concerned with the election of panchayat and municipalities. So who deals with these elections? State election commissions. Yes. Okay. So AIC, let's have a look on the ECI historical background. It was actually formed on the midnight during the execution of the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution was executed in 26 January 1950. So one day before it was formed. ECI was formed on 25th January 1950. Okay. Since there was only one clause that under Article 324, there will be a Chief Commissioner, Chief Election Commissioner of India, who is responsible for superintendence, direction and control. So that is why Chief Election Commission was appointed. There was no concept of multi-member Election Commission of India at that time. Okay. And as we know that the first election held between 25th October 1951 to 21st Feb 1952, and the one member Election Commission took over the responsibility of the entire election processes, right? Then what happened in 1989? Okay, 1989 the Election Commission was a single member body, and in 1989 when the age of voter was reduced, that was which amendment? 61st Amendment. Okay, in 1989 when the age of voter was reduced from 21 to 18. So what will happen ultimately? The size of electoral roll would be increased. So that's the responsibility actually will be increased. That is why now it is said that the responsibility on the increased responsibility there must be some more member in the election commission. So president appoints 2 more member that work for some of the months. Okay, then dispute arises over the appointment of that member. So then in that case ECI law was amended, and between 19 and 93 there was no multi-member commission. After 1993 the election commission was, since October 1993 to the present, the election commission has a chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. यहाँ तक बात समझ में आई, right? So it was actually the process of making the election commissioner, the Commission of India, that body, multi-member body, started in 1989, but it is not continued. It was disrupted for some 4 years. Okay, then from October 1993, under the law, under the proper and formal law, it was actually became the 3-member committee, including 1 chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. In case of any dispute over any decision made by Election Commission of India, it is actually over based upon the majority of 2-1. Is it clear? And all the 3 members of the Election Commission of India, Chief Election Commissioner is actually at par with other 2 election commissioners. Okay, in terms of terms and conditions and salary. But when we talk about removal, okay, it is an exception. Chief Election Commissioner is removed on the same process as the judges of Supreme Courts are removed, right? And the other two election commissioner are removed by the president on the recommendation of chief election commissioner. There is nothing mentioned in the Constitution or the Election Commission Act the process of removal of or the condition of removal of other election commissioners. Okay. President actually is binding. President is actually binding to have the recommendation of chief election commissioner while removing other election commissioner. But the recommendation of chief election commissioner is not binding to the president. ये बात समझ में आई? नहीं समझ में आई ये वाली? देखो तुम्हारी I am binding to have your recommendation. Without recommendation, I cannot remove. But once you give recommendation, I am not binding to accept your recommendation. If you recommend me to remove any other other election commission, I am not binding to remove that. Okay. During 2005 and 6, when N. Gopalaswamy was actually chief election commissioner, he actually one very disputed chief election commissioner has been there, Naveen Chawla. Okay, after that, during 2007 to 8 approximately. So N. Gopalaswamy has actually recommended president to remove the election commissioner Naveen Chawla. Okay, but since president was not binding to act according to the recommendation of chief election commissioner, so he did not remove. And later on, Naveen Chawla became chief election commissioner. He was very disputed because he was very well-known person who were attached with the Congress party. That is why it was said that during his tenure and as chief election commissioner and during when he was election commissioner, people were, member of parliaments, other bureaucrats, scholars raised dispute over his appointment, right? Because he was very much attached with the Congress party. During the emergency also, he was bureaucrat also, right? He was IAS, retired IAS. Now, so during the tenure of as IAS, during the emergency, he at that time showed his loyalty towards Congress party. So his tenure was very disputed and completely biased towards the government. And since this body is considered to be completely free and fair, independent body should be there, that should be unbiased to any political party or any government, right? So that is why this issue arises whether the recommendation is binding or not, and still it is cause of dispute whether the recommendation should be binding or not. So it is under the consideration. Is it clear for everyone? Quick doubt, Vishal? Okay. Anyone from online? Shall we move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to the composition, we have done already with that. So just read the points. The chief election commissioner and the other election commissioner, the number is to be decided by the president from time to time. So currently there are 3 members, right? Regional commissioners to be appointed by the president. Okay, we will discuss that later also. Okay, abhi ye slide padh lo keval. I will define the complete structure, right, of the commission. Okay, so regional commissioner also there to be appointed by the president after consultation with the election commission, as he may consider necessary to assist the election commission. The conditions of service and tenure of office. The conditions of service and tenure of office of the election commissioners and the regional commissioner or any commissioner, any authority of election commission shall be determined by the president. It is not mentioned in Constitution of India. Okay, currently it is the tenure is what? How many years? Or 6? It is 6 years and until the age of 65. It is not given in the Constitution. Is it clear? It is according to the Act. Now, appointment of members of Election Commission of India, right? देखो कुछ points हैं उसी में से disputed point निकलेंगे और वही mains का point बनेंगे, ठीक है? Because it is part of governance, so we'll find out. We have to, in between the facts, we have to find out the setbacks and loopholes. That will ultimately we will discuss, right, as issues with election commission and suggestion with when we are asked to do, right. Now, the constitution does not provide any educational, legal, administrative or judicial qualification. So there is no qualification mentioned. So when you are asked about the issues with the election commission, the first point would be there should be any law to define the appointment of chief election commissioner and their law related to the appointment. That should be a committee also to appoint the election commissioner members, right, election commissioner and other members, right. So this is actually not there. It has authorized the parliament to make laws for the appointment of members of the election commission. The parliament, however, has not enacted any law in this regard. In this regard means the regard to the appointment of election commission. There is no process, there is no qualification, there is no legal, judicial and any other norms to be followed by the executives while appointing the members of election commission. Is it clear? समझ आया बिल्कुल सही से? Now, in July 2017, the Supreme Court had a plea seeking constitution of a committee. Here constitution is not Constitution of India. Okay, means constitute, means make. Right? It's not Indian constitution. Plea seeking constitution of a committee composed of the Prime Minister of India, leader of opposition and the Chief Justice of India for appointment of election commissioners. Express concerns over the absence of law on the appointment to election commission of India. And till date, Supreme Court has directed the government, but till date there is no law made on this concern. Right? There should be a process of appointment. Independent body to hai, but there is an arbitrary appointment according to choice. That is why this actually shows the concern over the independence of Election Commission of India. Is it clear? Okay. Now, shall we move for next slide? Okay, fine. So, what are the tenure? 6 years or up to the age of 65, whichever is earlier. The constitution does not prescribe terms of members of the election commission. This is based upon, present condition is based upon the Election Commission Act 1991. The full name of this act is Election Commission Terms and Conditions and Tenure Act 1991. The Chief Election Commissioner and 2 other election commissioners have equal powers and receive equal salaries, allowances and other perks similar to those of a judge of the Supreme Court, in that sense only. Okay, but in practical we see that Chief Election Commissioner has more power than other 2 commissioners. Now, removal or the question of independence of election commission. Yes. This is actually charged upon the Constitutional Fund of India. Okay. So removal of, but this is the salary of only these authorities, not entire election commission. Okay. Removal of Chief Election Commissioner. The Constitution provides that the Chief Election Commissioner cannot be removed from his office except the like manner and grounds as mentioned as a judge of the Supreme Court. Okay. And what are the conditions? The proved misbehavior and incapacity. And proved misbehavior and incapacity is also not defined in Constitution or the Act also. Right? That is based upon the discretion of the authority, that the court will also involved in deciding the meaning of proved misbehavior or incapacity. Incapacity is very concrete word to in terms of definition, means you are not capable enough to deliver your services, right? But proved misbehavior has so many misinterpretations, right? What can be called as misbehavior, right? So if you are contempting the court, or you are actually biased towards government, and you are not actually authorizing free and fair election, it also causes the misbehavior. Is it clear? So misbehavior has multiple interpretations. Clear? Now, next, removal of other election commissioners. Okay, removal of other election commissioner or regional commissioner can be removed from the office only on the recommendations of, right? Article 324(5) does not provide similar protection to the election commissioner. Okay, there is no ground, either incapacity or proved misbehavior. The service conditions of the chief election commissioner cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. This is the clause mentioned in this act. Okay, so it means what? It means once you appoint election commissioner, okay, you cannot reduce his salary and allowances and perks. Okay, so what? It's very simple. You know, all of you must be aware of the functions of ECI. So what does it do? देखो, हाँ, right? So election commissions of India, superintendents direct and control the entire process of conducting elections to parliament and legislature of every state and the offices of the president and vice president of India, right? So let's understand the structure, how it actually direct or control. So election commission of India, okay, so ECI, okay, there can be to assist ECI, okay, at to assist ECI, okay, suppose there is the election for Lok Sabha, okay, and to assist ECI there can be various regional commissioner. They can be, it's not mandatory, okay, that depends upon time to time and depends upon the workload. There can be regional commissioner, or the term used for regional commissioner are deputy commissioners also, okay, other than other commissioner, those two commissioners, CEC plus 2. Other than these, we have regional commissioner, deputy commissioner, okay, and at the state level. Now coming to state, so there are various states, okay. For every state's chief electoral officer at state level, okay, ठीक है. ठीक है, देखो कोई लोग बुरा मत मानना, मैं सारे स्टेट्स कवर कर लिया, ईस्ट वेस्ट नॉर्थ साउथ, ठीक है, एंटायर इंडिया इज कवर्ड है. सो नाउ फॉर एवरी स्टेट देयर मस्ट बी अ CEO, चीफ इलेक्टोरल ऑफिसर और चीफ इलेक्शन ऑफिसर. इट कैन बी एनी रिटायर्ड और सर्विंग bureaucrat. Usually they are serving bureaucrats, not retired. ठीक है, हाँ, yes, okay, serving officers, right? Senior serving officer can be CU for the state, okay, and state is divided into what? Districts, okay, हाँ. Then they in terms of like superintendent, okay, so we know that bureaucracy is defined into states, then districts, then tehsils, then block. So we find officers on the basis of this structure, okay. That is why we can go through this structure, and this structure is same like we have discussed earlier also, that they are actually divided on the basis of constituency in a state. So in a state is divided into various constituencies, but for the ease of administration we actually allocate the responsibility on district basis, okay. It can be possible that one constituency can overlap two districts also. Okay, half would be in one district and half would be in another district. Right? So entire state would be taken care of or under the control of CEO. Under that, there must be various districts also. That district election officer would be there, that will control or superintendent the entire election process in the district. Okay, now districts are divided into further constituencies. Okay, so DEOs, under DEOs there are various, yes, they are called returning officer. Okay, so DEO usually they are DM. District magistrates are DEO. Under district magistrates, there are various officers which are appointed for monitoring the constituency. Okay, ठीक है. अब देखो मैं क्लियर करता हूं थोड़ा और. इसको फिर से बनाते हैं, स्टेट को फिर से बनाते हैं. ठीक है, स्टेट्स वी कैन. अब now one chief CEO would be entitled to monitor the entire election process. Under the CEO at district level, okay, at district level there must be various number of DOs, right? They are usually DMs, and again district is divided into constituencies, right? So one constituency has one returning officer that will take care of entire constituency. Okay, this is actually at district level and this is for constituency, returning officer. And one constituency can have multiple booths. ठीक है, suppose this constituency Karol Bagh. Okay, so it's not possible to travel for all those individuals or voters to collect at one place, one booth. Why? Because during 1970s and 80s there were rigging taking places. Rigging means capturing the booths also, right? So that is why the one place of voting in a particular constituency was divided into various booths. क्योंकि क्या होता था पहले, अब वो एक बूथ पे अगर आपने एंटायर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की वोटिंग करा ली, एंड दैट द बूथ कैप्चरिंग इंक्लूड द बैलेट बॉक्स वाज आल्सो taken up by those criminals, right? So to avoid those dependencies at one booth, there were constituencies now divided into various booths according to the situation or the number of wards. A number of two wards can be part of one booth also, or every ward can have individual booth, right? So there are booth officer or presiding officer for every booth. So we start from booth where you are supposed to vote. Okay, so मान लो ये सलवानी स्कूल है. सलवानी स्कूल was also booth for this by-election abhi some days back, right? So now when we start with booth, there will be a presiding officer. Booth collectively work for or collectively they are actually part of constituency. Is it clear? पीछे क्लियर हो रहा है ये? ठीक है. तो बूथ किसके लिए? कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी के लिए बूथ बने. ठीक है. नाउ एंटायर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी आर पार्ट ऑफ डिस्ट्रिक्ट अंडर द DU and constituency. Entire constituency including multiple booths taken care of by RO, returning officer. Yes. Returning officers who control and monitor the constituency. The entire processes include, in terms of authority, they include bureaucrats, DMs, tehsildars, right? And block officers and other government officers. For example, a booth officer can be a government officer other than IAS or IPS officer, right? A school teacher can also be, a principal can also be a booth officer. Huh.
Collector of the district will act as the returning officer.
Okay, that depends. See, but in that case, who will be the DEO? Are you getting the point? So mostly in that case, if there is a vacancy for RO, if any constituency which we do not have availability of RO at that time, he was appointed, but in that case he is absent, the DM can take the responsibility of RO. Huh. Huh. Okay. In by-election it can be happen. By-election very short-term process, including very few numbers of voters, and for any few particular constituency. What is by-election? Shall I clean it? Everybody got it from online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, there are three types of elections. General election, right? Takes place after every 5 years. Then midterm election. If government dissolved, right? In that case, for entire territory, either for Lok Sabha or state legislative assembly, there in case of dissolve, and the by election. So in by elections, actually they take place because of the absence of unavailability of any particular candidate, because of death or because of leaving that particular constituency. Because suppose Modi ji fought for two territories, two constituencies, okay, one from Vadodara and one from Varanasi. तो वाराणसी vacant हो गई, suppose. So in that constituency there would be a by election. So in case of by election, there are very few voters, very few candidates, so it can be taken care by any of the authority. Okay, it can be DM also, it can be Tehsildar also, that depends, right? So in by election, so this is actually not very rigid structure. The authority of the superintendent decided by the election commission by consulting the state governments and appointed by president. Huh. Huh. Yes. For new terms, okay. Lok Sabha dissolved means it is dissolved. Okay. If after 2.5 years or 3 years or 4 years, if it is dissolved, it means there will be fresh election for next 5 years. There's no concept or the completing the term. Is it clear? And the fresh election would take place as a fresh start. Everything will be doing by the Election Commission of India again. Same for state. Same for, yes, for by elections actually, by election depends upon the term left for Lok Sabha or respective state assembly. Okay, suppose an MP is elected for 5 years during a Lok Sabha. Okay, and Lok Sabha is continuing, right? And MP died in between. Okay, suppose after 2 years MP was died. Okay, then this constituency became vacant. Is it clear? So in that case, he will serve for the term left for that MP, because the Lok Sabha election will be held for the entire constituencies of any state.